Hey everybody. Most of y'all didn't come into class today, but I figured what I'd do is take kind of the body of what I had and put it into a quick video for you because I do think it'll be generally useful and it's not something that I had just incorporated as part of the learning lessons. So the goal for today, right, after this week's test, you're going to have pretty much open study time to prepare yourself for the AP exam. By way of reminder, your AP exam is May 6th, and it is at 8 a.m., and it is at Todd Beamer High School. That means you need to be at Todd Beamer at 7:30. There is an assignment, by the way, for this week that has you go through and affirm you understand things like that you need to be there by about 7:30 or so to make sure you're seated and logged in on time, and what the procedures are for leaving campus, or if your ride can't be there right away. So please do go ahead and do that. It is a formative assessment, but I do want everybody to do that. So I will be haunting you if you do not. All right. But what I really want to talk to you about is creating a plan of study, because I've been doing it for you much of the year. I've been doing a lot of the work with that. You've been doing some of it. Right? You've been figuring out the time you're going to study and how long you're going to dedicate to things. But what I'm going to be doing is walking you through how to figure out the what's, and then a little bit more about the how much and the when's. Because you do some of that right now, but not as much, because part of the how much that you already do, how much time, I should say, is based around what I've decided to ask you to do. All right. So step one is figuring out what to study. Okay. It's not enough to just say everything all year, though that's what you have to know. Okay? You're not going to get the most bang for your buck if you just try to review everything all the time. Also, not all information needs to be reviewed equally. So for example, if you're like, I absolutely understand Unit 2, but I am clueless about Unit 4, right? 2 being population, 4 being politics, it doesn't make sense to spend the same amount of time reviewing 2 as you review 4. That just doesn't make sense. So you need to figure out where to focus your energy, what to study. Okay? And there's a lot of different ways built in to help you do this. Okay? One of the easiest ways is just to go back and review those AP topics. And I gave those to you at the top of each week at the weekly summary pages. You may or may not have read them, I don't know, but they're there. And there is an activity for the review window that just has links to all the documents. You can also look them up, but review the AP topics. And for me, just do a yes, no. That's the way I would handle that. Yes, I get it. No, I don't. Okay. That'll help you figure out where to concentrate your energy. Obviously, you're spending much more time on the no I don'ts than on the yes I do's. You could also do it as a scale, right? A 1 to 4. So that you have a little bit more of, yes, I completely get it. I don't really need to study it all. I should study it a little bit. I need to review it reasonably thoroughly. I'm completely clueless. I should probably find some videos or send Miss Gall a message or come to class and just ask questions about it. Okay. You can log into AP Classroom, and I did go through and peek actually just 5 minutes ago and make sure that the progress checks for each topic are assigned. So you could go through and do those, and that'll help you figure out what topics do I need to work on. And they're quick. They're multiple choice questions. There's usually 2 or 3 of them. And it'll just help you figure out what you need to concentrate on. If you have not yet bought, begged, borrowed, stolen an AP Human Geography test prep book, that wouldn't be a bad idea. Okay? You can buy them new and used. and you can get them on Amazon. They usually run anywhere from probably about $5 to $15. I like the Barron's one for my money. I think it's one of the better ones. Okay. And if you're getting a used one, make sure you get it within the last 2 or 3 years. Okay, but they're not very expensive. They're easy to acquire, and they have diagnostic exams as part of the book. Okay, any AP test prep book worth its money for you will have some kind of a diagnostic exam to help you figure out what do you know and what do you not know. Okay. After you take this week's Unit 7 test, you could go through Unit 7. The test is comprehensive. It's going to cover all 7 units, and categorize the questions that you missed by unit. See if you can do that. Okay. To figure out where you might need to study. I will tell you this much. On the AP exam next month, units 2 through 6 are weighted equally at 15 to 18% of the multiple choice questions. That's what they give us. And unit 1 is, I think it's 5 to 10%. Okay. So just so you know, that's the weights for the multiple choice. The FRQs, they don't tell us, other than the fact that they will cover units 2 through 6. And across, there's 3 prompts, 7 parts each prompt. You will not only cover every single unit, you will probably cover them more than once. Because prompts typically include at least 2, sometimes 3, occasionally 4 units as part of those 7 parts. So they are looking for you to draw connections across units. So you got to figure out what to study, right? What's the best use of your time? Because again, not everything's considered equal in this. 2, maybe. There we go. Calendar out when your studying is going to occur. There are, I counted them this morning, 22 days between on the calendar between here and the AP exam on May 6th. Those are Monday through Friday kind of days. Okay. It includes today, but not May 6th. So just so you know, today is Monday, April 14th. Okay. But does not include test day. It does include the weekends. That 22 days. Okay. You should try to study for at least 16 of those days, also known as 5 days a week. Okay. Some of those days you'll study for more time, some of those days you'll study for less, but it should be at least a little bit every day. Should be at least a little bit every day. It's okay if it's only 10 or 15 minutes and you're flipping through your flashcards, right? Or you're quickly reviewing your notes for some of the days. That's okay. Maybe you're spending time watching a video or two for that 10 or 15 minutes, right? Or you stumble across some practice questions online. There are plenty of sources for sample practice questions. I did also, by the way, post up the multiple choice in AP Classroom, the multiple choice portions of the last 2 released exams, so that you could go through and practice with those and set the timers at the pacing you'll need for the AP exam. Okay. But just know that 10 to 15 minutes is okay if that's what you can spare. Some days might be 2 to 3 hours a day. Okay. Again, not all of them. We want to create some balance here. But those are the days when you might do things like take a practice test, or you're going to be going through, say, all of the AP topics and figuring out that yes, no, right? And kind of mapping things out. So some days you're going to spend several hours. Some days you're only going to spend a few minutes. That's okay. Really what you want to average probably is somewhere between 30 and 60 minutes most days. Okay. And you want to kind of figure out, if you can, when that studying is going to occur. So for my $2, I would literally create a written calendar. I'm a big fan of doing things on pen and paper, with pen and paper for stuff like this. And figure out when you're going to study if you can. Okay. And how much time you're hoping to study. Okay. if you have some ideas for what'll work to study, you might sketch in some ideas. And even if you can't do all 22 days, you should absolutely do the next 5 or 6. Okay? I tend to do stuff like this week by week, which is fine if that's your approach. 100%. My schedule's variable. It changes pretty regularly. That's what works best for me, is to do stuff like this week by week. Okay, so that's the when and creating a calendar. So how to study and what to do when you are studying, because the how to and what to do are very, very important. Reading your notes isn't a great strategy. Okay? It's just not. It doesn't work for most people. Matter of fact, I know exactly one person off the top of my head that works for. And he's a literal genius. Okay? So take some time. Think about, as you've been prepping for various unit tests, what works and what doesn't. Make yourself a list of what works. Do not do things that don't work. Okay? Do not do things that don't work, no matter how much somebody thinks you should do them. Look at the optional activities we've done last semester and this semester, right? That's a source of things that will work. Okay? Add those to your list. If they're things you've done that work, if they are things you want to try and see if they work, add them to your list. Okay? If you still don't feel like you have enough variety, start asking around. I did this when I was in college, incidentally, and just started asking my friends what they were doing. And I asked my younger brother, and I asked people I knew who had gotten through college, right? What to do and what things might work. And you'll get some more ideas, right? And if you're asking your parents, you get bonus brownie points. Okay? Add those things to the list if you think they'll work for you too. If you still don't have enough ideas, go online and look. Okay? The science behind learning styles isn't really great, but the suggestions that come up when you take those learning styles quizzes usually are pretty decent. Okay? So that would be another place to look. And pull from your other classes. It doesn't just need to be this class. So if you, for example, particularly enjoy the way you need to, Miss Anderson's having you learn stuff for ELA, or Miss Mac for science, pull those strategies into. Everything's fair game. Okay? Look for things you enjoy doing or have enjoyed doing as you prep. So, if you like watching videos, make sure that watching YouTube videos is on your list. If you like reading, do some Googling and find some articles related to your topic, some current events and things like that. You get the basic idea. Okay. And then what you're going to do, and this is my last slide, right? You're going to actually add some of those into your calendar. So if you're only calendaring out this week, only add them in this week. But make sure there's some variety to what you're doing. Okay. So, every week you're going to go through and you're going to pick the activities that appeal to you and add those. For my 2 cents, keep track of what you're picking to do each week for 2 reasons. 1, variety is the spice of life. It'll be a lot more fun to study if you're not doing the same thing every single time. And 2, the more different ways you can review and practice information, the easier it is to recall it on the test. And we'll talk about test taking strategies at some point as well. Okay. You can calendar out the whole month if you want to, and you can add all the activities for the whole month if you want to. Feel free for I guess it's 3 weeks actually, not a whole month. That doesn't work for me. I would do this week by week or day by day. So I might plot the amount of time on a given day and then wait till the day of to figure out what do I feel like doing or what's going to work for me today. But whatever works for you, just make sure that you're reviewing regularly. That's the key point. You have to review regularly. If you've got questions, if you need some help, go ahead, reach out and let me know. Otherwise, I'll see you next week.